So in the last the last two videos, we've been talking about how to make a great first impression, and particularly how to be able to walk into a space and go from an outsider to an insider. And a huge piece of this is learning how to create a great first impression. And there's three steps to this. And the first one is you're creating fun, which is starting the conversation with some level of fun. Made a whole video about this, but really quickly, fun is essentially having a creative and humorous way to introduce what you do or where you're from. Trust, a lot of that is through actually physical touch, meaning handshakes, hugs, high fives, that kind of stuff. And then the third one, the one that we're really focusing on today, is all about respect. And respect comes from knowing and then communicating your values and living in alignment with them. So when we talked about in the first one, we talked about when we talked about fun, most people will ask, what do you do for work, especially in a first interaction, and where are you from? Now, one of the things that you can do is instead of just saying, like for me, I grew up in LA. Now, I can say that the more humorous way, and the way I usually will introduce it, is I'll say, I grew up in the traffic capital of the world. And they'll go, most people either say either LA or New York, and they're usually right with one of those. And so the thing is, though, is when I drill down to what my values are, and this is something that isn't often something that you can come up with in the moment. This is something that you actually have to think about and look at your life so far and say, what do I truly value? For me, one of the things that I realized is I grew up in LA and I really value the speed, the entrepreneurialism, the fact that everyone who I have met who grows up there is this sense of I'm meant to do something big with my life. I'm meant to make it on the big screen, if you will. And so even though I now live in Sacramento, which a huge thing, a part of why I've lived here for almost 10 years is the connection to other people, the warmth, how physically close I am to so many of my friends here, that has been a reason why I love being here in Sacramento, and the fact that I'm close enough that I can still fly home very easily. And so that is from a value standpoint why I do that. Now, the other thing is a way that I'm able to gain respect as well is saying that I operate a mobile detailing business, but a part of that is not just hey, I have a business to make money. It's I have a business because I wanted to have freedom to be able to invest in people, whether that's going on missions trips, which I've done every year for the last 2 years, or being able to fly home. Like just this year, I've gone back to LA 2 times already and gotten to go to Brazil with a friend of mine who invited me, who's from there. And so that is an example of the work that I'm doing actually aligns with the values that I have, which are this idea of people over everything. And that's a line from my book in chapter 0 that I found as I was writing that. And I went, this is a huge part of who I am and how I want to live my life, and my business and my work actually are in alignment with that. Now, some of you haven't started a business yet. So what you want to do there is you want to talk about the things that you are going to do, what you are most excited about in the future. For a while, I had wanted to live in Ecuador or live in a South or Central American country for 2 to 3 months. So before I had done that, the thing that I would talk about that was in alignment with my values was, hey, I'm studying Spanish right now, which I was doing. And a part of that is I have this dream to be able to go and live in a South or Central American country for 2 to 3 months. So even if the value isn't in something that I've done right now, because there was a large portion of my life where I hadn't done some of the things that I knew I really wanted to do. There was a large period of time where I wanted to have a business, but I didn't have one yet. Where I wanted to go and live in a South or Central American country, but I hadn't done that yet. And so while we're looking at what are the values that I hold, how do I integrate that into my living and my being, that is a huge piece of this, is saying, who am I? And to the best of my ability, understanding who that is. And then also saying, how did the place I'm from, what are the values of that place? where am I living now? What are the values of that place? And what is it that I do for work, and what does that communicate? And is this thing that I'm doing right now, is that what I want to be doing long term, or is this a stepping stone to the next thing? And that's also another thing, is having whatever it is, whether it's what you're doing right now or a future thing, when you can honestly share about what you're doing, and you can say with confidence that this is something that you are excited about building or creating, it makes such a difference. Like, I can tell when someone does something for work, but it is not what brings them joy, or there's no life in it for them. And really, that's the shift. I heard it. The guy that I learned this concept from, it's something called Charisma on Command. And I went through, it's like a $600 course. And honestly, you should do it. It was really good. It was worth it. And inside of that, he talks about how there was a time where he was working at this bank, but what he really wanted to do was go and travel or start this parkour business. And ironically, when he was doing this thing that he didn't really want to do, but was making money, he found it harder to gain respect from people versus when he quit the job that made more money, but was doing the thing that he was more passionate about and had more life. He found that there was so much more respect from other people. And I think I found that in my own life as I have had this business, even though there have been so many times when I have questioned if having a mobile detailing business is what I want to do forever. At the same time, I have found that it has given me such freedom, which is something that I value so deeply, to be able to invest in people and to be able to make relationships really the highest priority in my life. And so even if this particular business wasn't the thing that when I was 12 years old, I hope I have a mobile detailing business sometime, it is in alignment with who I want to be and how I want to be able to invest in people. And a part of that is I've being able to fly back home to LA, being able to visit my other siblings that are around the country and experience different parts of the world. And last year, I was able to travel 61 days out of the year, almost 2 months, over various trips. And that is because I value not just having a business, but having a business that creates freedom in my life. And so that's an example of a value that I have in a way that I'm able to communicate how the thing that I'm doing proves that I have that value. And I, in a sense, I have the receipts of, I have all the trips and the photos and all those things. So when you can show those things and communicate them, and I'd encourage you to think about, where did you grow up? What was valued in that space? And did you stay there? Did you move various places? I grew up in LA, but I've lived here. I moved to Ecuador for almost 2 months. And I've gotten to travel to over 14 countries now. And in that time, as I've been in those different places, I've learned different things. And so as you're thinking about what does this look like in your life, it's going, again, the where are you from, but also what is it that you're doing for work? And is that what you want to be doing, or is it a stepping stone? And the other thing is, it's okay to say, this is what I'm doing right now, and this is the thing that I'm most excited about. In fact, I generally do not ask people what do they do for work. I actually ask them, what are they most excited about, or what are they building or creating right now? Because I assume that if I have a relationship with them, at some point I will find out what they do for work. And knowing what's most exciting to them, and this is kind of going into the fourth part of first impressions, which is turning the spotlight back onto the other people, which I'm going to go into more in the next video. But this idea of, if I understand my values, it then allows me to have a deeper relationship with the person that I'm talking with, because now we've gone from surface level, what do you do, where are you from, to who are you underneath those things. And so it instantly breeds this level of trust and connection that if you just go, where are you from? LA. What do you do for work? Operate a business. Both true, not nearly as deep as, Well, I loved the fact that everyone was building something, and that really inspired me. And even though I don't live there today, I still have that same drive to build something that is great, that has impact. And that just has so much more impact and meaning and depth behind it. And I think it's a reason why, even though I don't have to talk with someone for that long, we can have such great conversations quickly, is because I'm not just communicating what I do, I'm communicating a level of who I am as I'm sharing what I do. And so in the next video, when I talk about turning the spotlight back on the other person, it creates more trust, more authenticity with both parties, because I went first. And so that's the next piece of first impressions. So fun, trust, respect. Those three we've already done. And then the fourth one, which we'll be doing on the next video, is turning the spotlight back on to the other person. So really quickly, this week, what you want to do, or today, I don't know when you're watching this necessarily, but the main thing though is go, where did I grow up? And where do I live now? What were the values of those places? And then what do I do for work? What are the values underneath what I do for work? Why does that matter to me? And if you don't love what you're doing right now, or you're just not that excited about it, what is something that you're planning to do? Whether it's a trip you're planning to go on, a missions trip, a personal trip, a vacation, a project that you're working on, a side business that you're building, whatever that is, talk about that thing that you are most excited about, because that will translate into how you show up in each space. That's what I got for you today. I'm out. Adios.